Although the boys' bodies have not been found, the prosecution has said that evidence, including interviews with the West's other children, indicates the boys were killed in September of 2020, 3 months before the West reported them missing. The West are charged with second-degree murder, involuntary manslaughter, and other offenses and face life terms in prison if convicted.
The trial of Jacqueline and Trezell West resumes this morning.
Alexander Kalaveris is testifying. He lives in Arlington, Texas. He was unaware a neighbor claimed he had Orrin and Orson at his home. Kalaveris said he doesn't know the neighbor who made the report. He said he was unaware a neighbor reported Orrin and Orson were at his Arlington, Texas home. The children in question are his children, not the missing boys, he said. Photos of his family are being passed to the jury. Hennessy asked if Kalaveris knows of Victor Rodriguez. Kalaveris said no, and also, upon being asked, said none of his children are named Derek. Prosecutor Eric Smith ended his questioning. Timothy Hennessy, lead counsel for Trezell West, has begun cross-examination. Kalaveris said the first time law enforcement from Bakersfield spoke to him was about a week and a half ago. Kalaveris has been excused. BPD Detective John Dunn has been called to the stand. The West trial is now in its 17th day. On March 11, 2021, Dunn went to an address on Oakdale Drive to assist with the search warrant. He searched the yard and garage area. There was a detached garage, Dunn said. Dunn took photos during the search warrant, which Smith is going to display. Photos of the detached garage and home are being shown to the jury. The residence and garage belong to Maria Flores, Dunn said. Smith ended his questioning. Alexia Torres Stallings asked if he was surveilling the West's van. He said he doesn't believe so. She ended her questioning, and Dunn was excused. Detective Jesse Perez has been recalled to the stand. Perez previously testified to the Facebook search warrant returns for Jacqueline West. He said video chats on Facebook provide general information. He reviewed records between West and Perla Martinez. Conversations were recorded. Smith is going to display the conversation. A video chat occurred December 17, 2020, Perez said. It happened about 1:17 p.m. Another one followed on the same day, a few minutes apart. 2 more video chats occurred on the following day, Perez said. One happened December 22, 2020 at about noon. Another took place the same day at 2:39 p.m. Smith ended his questioning. Under cross-examination by Torres Stallings, Perez said he reviewed all the data between Jacqueline West and Martinez provided by Facebook. She's handing Perez some papers to look over and see if he recognizes them. Perez said they appear to be items he reviewed. Smith objected when Torres Stallings sought to have them moved into evidence, and a sidebar has been called. They're back, and Perez has been excused. The exhibit was not entered. BPD Sergeant Chad Garrett has been called to the stand. Garrett reviewed call detail records and Google accounts in this case. Garrett has identified files he reviewed, and the information is being projected on a screen. The documents show account change history. The email account is for Jacqueline West. Another account change form has been shown for Trezell West. The Google information also shows location history, Garrett said. One of the Google accounts had more than 200 deleted location history files, he said. The deletion history being shown to the jury is for Trezell West. Between September and December, the West had 5 different phone numbers between them, Garrett said. He reviewed call detail records for those numbers. Call detail records are being displayed. A call detail analysis report created by Garrett is now being viewed. One phone was changed on December 5, 2020. Another was also changed on that date. Phones associated with Maria Martinez, Jacqueline West's mother, were also reviewed. Garrett is explaining the software used to examine the records and what different things on the records stand for. On December 5th, Trezell made a 32-second call to a phone, the owner of which was unknown. Later, Trezell called Jacqueline for a 78-second call. The phones connected to 2 different towers, Garrett said, indicating the separation between them. These calls were on December 5th, 2020. At 12:44 p.m. that day, Trezell made a phone call to Jacqueline, a 130-second phone call. The next call, made at 1:23 p.m., was an outgoing call from Trezell to Jacqueline. It was a 74-second call, and the device is connected to the same tower, Garrett said. A phone number for Maria Martinez, Jacqueline West's mother, got an incoming call from Jacqueline West at 1:31 p.m., Garrett said. The next call, still from December 5th, was at 1:35 p.m. from Trezell to Jacqueline. It's a 52-second call, Garrett said. The phone's connected to different towers. A number associated with Maria Martinez made a call to a number the owner of which isn't listed on the document. Then came a call at 2:07 p.m. from Trezell to Jacqueline. A 22-second call, 2 different towers. The next call, both devices connected to the same tower during the transaction, Garrett said. The call from Trezell to Jacqueline didn't have any duration of call, Garrett said. Maria Martinez called Jacqueline at 2:41 p.m., then at 3:03 p.m. Trezell called Jacqueline at 3:30 p.m. Trezell called Jacqueline, a 27-second call, both phones connected to the same tower. The next record shows Trezell's phone is in Cal City and makes a call at 5:15 p.m., then receives a call 3 minutes later. At 8:09 p.m., a phone associated with Maria Martinez calls an 877 number. Trezell and Jacqueline communicated with each other numerous times between noon and 3:30 p.m. Later that day, Trezell's phone was in Cal City, Garrett said. The court is in recess for 15 minutes. The trial is back in session with Victor Nasser, an attorney for Trezell West, cross-examining Sergeant Chad Garrett. Nasser asked about deleting records and Google's proprietary data, then ended. Alexia Torres-Stallings, lead counsel for Jacqueline West, is asking about old and new numbers for the West. Garrett said he's aware the West had several phones seized during the investigation and that they used the number associated with Maria Martinez afterward. Garrett has been excused. BPD Detective Thomas Hernandez, lead investigator of the West case, has been recalled to the stand. Hernandez testified he interviewed 70 to 80 people during the investigation. He documented the interviews. He interviewed Jacqueline on July 1st, 2021. Prosecutor Eric Smith is going to play the interview. Smith said the interview is 1 hour and 23 minutes. He started playing it. Jacqueline West enters the BPD interview room, called the Blue Room. She's wearing a blue t-shirt with NASA in white letters across the front. Again, this interview took place on July 1st, 2020. West has an attorney with her. Asked by detectives, West says there's nothing new she's learned that could help the investigation. West says Orrin and Orson's biological family knew where they lived at the apartment complex in Bakersfield. She says they would come over and knock, and she would not answer. An aunt named TT watched the children for a week, Jacqueline West says. She says she doesn't know which side of the boy's biological family TT is on. She said she had a contact for TT on her phone, but she threw the phone away because it was broken. Detective Hernandez asked if there is anything she can provide to identify who TT is, but she says she doesn't have any info. Hernandez asked about closing on the Cal City house, who was present besides the realtor. She says just the realtor, her, and Trezell and the kids. Hernandez asked about getting couches purchased for the home, having pest control brought in. He asked how they paid, who delivered the couches, and conducted the pest control. He wants to know everyone who entered the house. Super sweet, but then super grumpy, Jacqueline West says with a laugh when asked to describe the personalities of Orrin and Orson. She says they cried often. It's possible they were slightly delayed, Jacqueline says when asked if the boys have disabilities. Orrin didn't like speaking to us, she says. He would go without talking for a while. She says, same for Orson. Were they potty trained? Yes and no, Jacqueline says. They wore diapers if, on the previous night, they wet themselves, she says. Hernandez says during some of the searches they found diapers. He says they found diapers in the searches out in fields and other areas where they heard the boys might be located. Jacqueline says Orson wore diapers about once a week. Orrin sometimes wore diapers, but hadn't recently. On December 19, 2020, Jacqueline West says they dropped the other kids off with Trezell's grandmother, then went to the grocery store and Dollar General. She says Orrin and Orson were sleeping in the back row seats of the van. Hernandez asked where exactly the boys were seated, and she drew their location on a piece of paper. Asked if they returned to Bakersfield with the kids anytime before December 19th, Jacqueline West says yes, on December 5th. Her mom's friend had shelving they were going to pick up, but it didn't fit in the van, she says. Asked if anyone else helped them move to Cal City, Jacqueline says it was only her and Trezell. Jacqueline says they didn't stop in any stores on December 5th. The children were wearing black Nike shoes the day they went missing, Jacqueline says. Hernandez asks about sleeping arrangements at the Cal City house, and Jacqueline drew where each child slept. Another detective in the room is asking about the pest control guy again, how they found him, how often he was supposed to spray, if the children were there when he was at the home. Back to Aunt Titi. Jacqueline says she took Orrin and Orson for a week in June 2020. Jacqueline says it was only supposed to be for the weekend, but she kept the kids a week. Jacqueline says she thought about calling police, but didn't because they were returned. Jacqueline says TT would just show up. She says no other biological family showed up, just TT. The detectives had left the interview room. It's just Jacqueline and her attorney in the room. The detectives have returned. Hernandez is asking about the diapers again. Jacqueline says Orrin and Orson and another of their adopted children sometimes needed them. Orrin and Orson were the same size Love's diapers, same size clothing, Jacqueline says. Asked about December 21st, 2020, the day the boys went missing, Jacqueline says she was wrapping gifts. The video has been paused, and court is in recess until 1:30 p.m. The jury will return to the courtroom at 1:30 p.m., but Judge Charles R. Brimmer said the audience will not be let in until 1:45. He said there is something the jury will be shown outside the presence of others.
The trial of Trezell and Jacqueline West is back in session, with an interview being played that was held July 1st, 2021 at BPD headquarters. Jacqueline West is being interviewed by Detective Thomas Hernandez and another detective. The jury was brought in 15 minutes before the audience. Judge Charles R. Brimmer said that the jury examined the make and model of the U-Haul the West used when moving from Bakersfield to Cal City. The move happened September 18th through the 20th, 2020. Jacqueline West says in the interview. Hernandez asked her to describe the move, what she did each day. Jacqueline says. Hernandez says he's trying to figure out if she stayed with the kids. Were Orrin and Orson present when the U-Haul was dropped off? He's trying to understand her, Trezell's, and the kids' movements from the 18th to the 20th, the days of the move. Jacqueline says she's not good on dates. Has trouble saying where the kids were when the U-Haul was taken back. Jacqueline says Trezell takes the U-Haul back. She says Wanda West, Trezell's mother, who was visiting during the move, may have gone with him. Another detective asked if she stayed at home in Cal City the last time the U-Haul was taken. Jacqueline says the last trip they made involved items taken in the van. Who was in the van? Jacqueline can't seem to remember. It's not that difficult, a detective says. Wanda West has previously testified she never saw Orrin and Orson on the days during the move when she was in Cal City. She testified she thought the boys were with Jacqueline West's mother. Jacqueline West, however, says in the interview, all 6 of her children, including Orrin and Orson, were at the Cal City house. Everybody is a suspect, Hernandez tells her. Her, Trezell, Wanda West, everybody. He asked when she got her new phone. Jacqueline West says on her birthday. Hernandez says he's looked through a ton of your stuff and asked if there is some video or photo taken from when they moved to when the kids were reported missing. Jacqueline says she tried to transfer her photos from her old phone to the new one. She says she couldn't transfer the folder. She says she would rarely send photos to people. Jacqueline West says when she fostered the boys, she was told not to share photos of them. Hernandez tells her she adopted the boys a year ago. Hernandez says there is a mountain of stuff that needs to be answered. He says the kids were gone before they were reported. He references what her other children have said about Orrin and Orson not being seen for weeks. He says there is all this info he's gathered and it leads back to you and Trezell. Jacqueline says what happened was very unfortunate, but not their fault. Hernandez says he doesn't see how a 10-year-old is going to come up with a story that doesn't differentiate from the details after telling it 4 times. Hernandez says something happened to those kids before they were reported missing. He knows it for a fact, and he wants to know what happened. He says maybe it was an accident. He tells her to tell him the truth. Hernandez says he knows for a fact on December 19, 2020, Orrin and Orson were not in the van when she dropped the other children off at Wanda West's house. Jacqueline says the other kids didn't like Orrin and Orson, so she told them to pretend like they weren't there. I'm going to interject into the notes. I haven't really done that since I've been reading the minutes, but since I've been listening to the trial, I want to just let you know how this went down. Basically, Jacqueline West was trying to explain why the boys are saying that Orrin and Orson are gone or not coming back or whatever they're coming up with is because she told them to pretend like they weren't there. And she told the detectives, I don't know why they would say that to you guys, like it's true or something, but no, I just told them that, I know why they're telling you that. Back to the script. There is no way out except for honesty, Hernandez says. Both he and another detective say there are a number of things she has said on today and other days that don't match up. The unnamed detective tells her at this time everything is still pointing at her and Trezell. The video ends. Prosecutor Eric Smith is questioning Hernandez on the stand. Hernandez said 35 warrants were authored by him and other investigators in this case. Searches were conducted of the area around California City. There were several big searches. One was at Silver Saddle Ranch, which has man-made ponds and storage sheds. Desert areas were searched in the northern part of the town near Randsburg Road. A few different searches were held there, he said. They found no evidence of Orrin or Orson. Hernandez testified he wrote the warrants for the Google records for Trezell and Jacqueline West. He found no photos, videos, or anything regarding Orrin or Orson after July 2020. There was nothing from September through December 2020 about the boys, he said. Hernandez is testifying to reports showing call records. The reports have been admitted as evidence and will be displayed. The messages are between Trezell and Wanda West. Trezell writes a bunch of ha-has with a photo of his electric bill on December 14, 2020. On December 7th, there are messages between Trezell and his brother Jamal, something to do with toys. A message from Jacqueline to Trezell occurred on December 5th at 2:04 p.m. The message was an address on Oakdale Drive. On December 16, 2020, Wanda West sends a message to Trezell and Jacqueline asking for a family photo of everyone. The next message was not sent. Then on December 21, 2020, Trezell calls 911 and makes a call to another number that lasts about 4 minutes. Hernandez said he found adoption information on Trezell's phone about their adopted children. Hernandez testified to photos of the Aspen Avenue residence and its interior. There were photos of the home and its inside on Trezell's phone, but no photos of Orrin or Orson. Hernandez said he looked at the gate at the West Cassidy home. There was a difference to it last month from what he saw in 2021. There were some new bolts on the northern gate, he said. Hernandez said he took photos of the gate. A 15-minute break has been called. Trial will resume around 3:05 p.m. Back in session, Hernandez said it took a reasonable amount of force to move the west gate. It left a divot in the dirt as he pulled it. Prosecutor Eric Smith has shown Hernandez a copy of the rental agreement from U-Haul when the West moved in September 2020. Hernandez testified he has reviewed portions of surveillance footage. On January 5, 2021, Hernandez listened to a phone call between the West and their eldest child. Smith is going to play a recording of the call. I'll interject again just to give you a little bit of context to go with the phone call. The little boy sounded so sad and so scared. He said he didn't have anything to say. The little boy sounded very, very uncomfortable. Let's just say that. The woman in the background was right there. I mean, literally at the end of the call, she was saying, tell your mom you're good. Tell them your brothers are good. And the ending, everything was just really, really uncomfortable. But anyway, back to the script. Jacqueline West tells her son not to worry. They're looking for the boys. The boy says he's about to start school. He speaks quietly, mostly saying, yeah, we're trying really, really hard to get you guys back, Jacqueline says. The West tell the boy he doesn't have to talk to anybody if he doesn't want to. Jacqueline says she knows people are asking him questions and says he doesn't have to answer them. Don't let nobody tell you that you have to do nothing, okay? Jacqueline West says. Okay, the boy says. The West's voices tremble during the call, and Trezell West is wiping at his eyes in the courtroom while listening. The call ended. Hernandez testified he questioned Wanda West about whether she saw Orrin and Orson when she was in the West van on December 19, 2020. That interview is going to be played. Wanda West says she went with the West that day to the credit union. She says she didn't see Orrin or Orson. The West told her they were sleeping in the back of the van, but she didn't see them. Trezell and Jacqueline West were arrested March 1st, 2022, Hernandez said. Smith ended his questioning. Timothy Hennessy has begun cross-examination. Hennessy asked if the theory of the case changed at some point. He asked when Hernandez spoke to the realtor, who placed one of the boys in Cal City. Hennessy said that conflicts with the interviews the boys gave a social worker. Judge Bremer has called a sidebar. They're back. Hennessy resumed questioning. Asked how many children the pest control employee saw in the Cal City home. Hernandez said he gave several figures. Another sidebar has been called after Smith said he doesn't think the pest control guy was subject to recall. They're back again. Hernandez said he spoke with the pest control guy in July 2021. He said the man gave a couple different numbers as to how many children he saw. Hennessy noted, and Hernandez confirmed, the man said he saw 6 to 7, then 5 to 6 children at the home. There is a number in the case for which an owner was not found, Hernandez said. Hernandez testified he was present when the Bakersfield apartment where the West lived was searched. Nothing relevant was found. He said the dumpster was not forensically analyzed, but a landfill was searched. Smudges on the sliding glass door at the West Cal City home were not tested, Hernandez said. Hernandez said the first resource parent for the children was present when he listened in on the call between the eldest child and the West. Asked by Hennessy, the detective said he has taken training on interviewing and interrogating people and knows how to build a rapport, use a ruse. Asked if there are things to avoid, Hernandez said on certain occasions, yes, he supposes. Like telling someone, if you tell me what happened, I'll set you free. Hernandez said he and another detective that Hennessy referred to have different styles, but he wouldn't say improper techniques were used. Hernandez agreed there is a trust between detectives that they'll perform their jobs well. Hennessy is referring to certain people not being asked about security footage, certain things not being noted in reports. Smith has requested a sidebar. They're back. Hernandez said it was his understanding that Cal City Police had contacted sex offenders. Not all of them were contacted, he said. He was unaware that at one place the sex offender who was listed as living there was no longer there. Hennessy is asking about the boys being reported seen in Arlington, Texas. Hernandez said he was made aware of the tip. He said the person providing the tip said one of the boys said his name was Orrin. Smith said this is all hearsay and he wants it stricken from the record. Judge Bremer said the info can only be considered in regard to the actions or choices Hernandez made in the investigation, not the truth of the matter. In June of 2022, he corresponded with an FBI agent about the tip, Hernandez said. Hernandez said he never spoke to the woman who gave the tip. Court is in recess for the day. Hernandez will resume testifying Monday, and the prosecution will rest. Then Tori Stallings, attorney for Jacqueline West, will give her opening statement. She reserved her opening until after the prosecution rests its case.